To our next three speakers on the all-party parliamentary group definition of Islamophobia. Can I ask Irfan to come forward? Irfan Akhtar. You've done this before, Irfan. It's 3 minutes. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, all. My name is Irfan Akhtar. I'm speaking on behalf of the Waltham Forest Council of Mosques, an umbrella body for 10 mosques in the borough, and the majority of Muslims in the borough. I mean, straight to the point, on this issue, this is something which I commend the council for bringing forward, albeit maybe a little bit delayed, but nevertheless, it's an important debate and an important issue that needs to be raised. And we see this, like the issue just mentioned before about misogyny, is one of abuse and discrimination that needs to be prevented. We, after the recent really upsetting attack that happened in Queen's Road, where a lady was attacked for wearing the hijab, our member mosque actually said we will speak to our congregations. Let's mention, because what often happens is underreporting. We don't report. Our citizens, our Muslims, think they have a massively high threshold in which that makes them report. Before that, they think things are minor. And so just the conversation we had, scores of people from each of the masajid, each of the mosques, came forward and said they experienced verbal abuse, even physical abuse, being pushed, shoved, called names, and they haven't reported it. This is this year as well, last year, year before, going back many years. And when we asked them, what is the reason you didn't report it? They said nothing will be done about it, or there's no law about it. So we said, I asked one of our members, what is your threshold? They said if something got broken, and we could make go to the police about it because there's an actual claim, or someone got injured and went to hospital, that would be they would understand we need to go to the police. But verbal abuse doesn't even come on the radar. And we, at the moment, experiencing around the country, and it's not a local issue, it's a national issue, we're experiencing the highest rates of Islamophobia. The records have gone, and we've seen the trend increasing. And that's in spite of all the underreporting. And so we need the law to be on the side of the people, the victims. Like with the misogyny, you could take many of those arguments that were made by Stella and Arifa and change the word for Islamophobia, and you'll see the same pattern. This is about discrimination and protecting the innocent and the people who are being abused purely for having a particular way of life, a particular belief, or a protected characteristic, essentially. So we have to make sure we need to give our people that empowerment. We have a duty, naturally, the mosques I'm talking about. We have a duty to encourage reporting of these incidents. We have to tell people to change their mindset, understand their rights. We have that duty. But then they need to know that they also have the law on their side that would actually make things done. And we should remember, this law should not be just a tick box exercise. Something that we've covered, we've got the words, and we just leave it at that. It should actually materialize in actions against those perpetrators of the injustice that's taking place. And I'll just mention two final points. One is on the word in itself. It mentions a type of racism. I'm sure you've all read it. And the good thing about that point is the first thing you hear racists say when they're insulting Islam. They say, you can't claim the race card because Islam is not a race. Like Christianity, we accept people of all race, all colors and backgrounds. But that's a point for us to be proud of, not a stick to beat us with. It shouldn't be against us. And we should remember that the fact that we have many races joining us, people still are using that loophole to attack Muslims. So the definition mentions that and tries to capture that point adequately because it's still a racist agenda. Final point is anyone thinking about this is trying to curtail free speech against Muslims or in any shape or form. It's not about that. As I mentioned, it's abuse and discrimination. Just as the birthplace of Islam is Saudi Arabia. Anyone speaking against a state or a regime like Saudi Arabia should not be considered an Islamophobe. We ourselves speak against the abuse that they have done in Yemen. We can hold them to account for war crimes. We can do that for any state or nation that breaks the laws, international laws, and do war crimes. It should not be considered Islamophobia. So this is not about curtailing free speech. It's about protecting the innocent, especially in terms of discrimination and abuse. And that's the thing we should keep in mind. So there should be no issues with passing this law. And hopefully, when this law is passed, all of us will act. Again, most of us, I know you are on ethical and moral ground anyway, but for the people who are racist, we will call them out and we'll be able to prosecute them under the full extent of the law. Thank you.
Thank you, Irfan. Can I invite Huda Osman to come forward, please? Would Noreen like to come down and sit at the side as well, so that she's ready for the next? Yeah, thank you. You can sit on the side there. Huda, over to you. Okay.
Thank you. Good evening all. So a number of you may have never met me, but I am representing the Islamophobia response unit. Unfortunately, one of the members of Walthamstow Borough was actually unable to attend today, and that's why I'm speaking on her behalf. A few of you may have heard about a month ago, a lady who wore the veil was actually first verbally abused and then physically abused. She was punched numerous times with her children witnessing the whole incident. This lady, what you need to understand is this incident isn't a one-off, nor is it an incident that only occurs on one day. This family are still trying to recover. This family, not only was the victim impacted, the children were impacted. They witnessed their mother being punched on this left side, on the right side. She was then told to leave the country. So just understand the impact that these cases, that these incidences are having on these families. And this case isn't a one-off, unfortunately. In my preparation today for this speech, I was actually seated in the office. It was quite a quiet day. I'm glad our phone lines were quite quiet. But my manager got a call and she was informed that another member from Walthamstow was verbally insulted. She's another lady who wears the veil. She was told today to get out of the country. She was called a letterbox. Now that statement is not something you are unfamiliar with. And when she confronted the perpetrator, the suspect, he was responded with, "Oh, I support Boris Johnson." So understand that what's happening in council, what people of authority are saying will have an impact on what's happening on the ground. And that's why I want to push for the APP definition to be implemented in Walthamstow. It's so that people on the ground understand that, look, we're not going to stand for Islamophobic abuse anymore. The fact that Walthamstow Forest are fourth place when you look at the Met statistics when it comes to Islamophobia, and the two on top, Tower Hamlets and Newham, have already implemented the APP definition. It brings the question to the Muslim community, what are my council actually doing about it? It's led to organisations like myself, the Islamophobia Response Unit, to have to step in. We're now advocating for victims. We're now stepping in and doing the investigation that the police are meant to do, because we've seen that enough of our cases are being dismissed as Islamophobia. They're being considered as a racial aggravated incident, not based on the fact that this person was Muslim, which completely dismisses our whole protected characteristics. So I want you lot to really understand that the importance of this application. Without it, victims won't be able to come forward. And this is a full Waltham Forest hold fourth place when it comes to Met statistics. And as we understand, there is a big hidden picture in crime. People aren't coming forward. So consider it well, because this definition, when you actually look at it, is very simple. It's not something that's quite complex for the normal layman to understand. And once the victims understand that, look, my council are taking a stance, I'm pretty sure they'll start coming forward. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. And I leave it there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Huda. Can I now? Oh, you're there, sorry.
I'm there, sorry. I decided to save you
Noreen,
some time.
over to you.
It's Nof, sorry. Hello, my name is Nof. I've been a resident in Walthamstow for about 10 years now. I came to this country from Yemen when I was 9 years old, so I've always been a Waltham Forest resident. I'm here to speak kind of to both of the topics that we've been speaking about, misogyny and Islamophobia. I'm a leader with Waltham Forest Citizens, so we are a community organisation that brings institutions together for change. And I know I've seen a lot of faces that I recognise that have worked with us, so thank you. And thank you, Stella, for mentioning the work that London citizens have done, especially in Nottingham, to recognise or to trial misogyny as a hate crime. An important aspect for community work is personal testimony. So, you know, people often say that facts don't care about emotions, but actually emotions are very, very, very powerful. I don't even know where to start with my personal experience. So not just as a woman, but as a visibly Muslim woman, I attended a law commission meeting to hear the stories of other women who are Muslim and women who were not, who came with their experience of misogyny. I've been in places where, I should feel safe and I don't anymore. I've filled London Underground train. Every seat has been filled, and I've sat across from a man who decided for the next 3 stations that he was going to speak to me in the most vile words, and everybody just stared and nobody said anything. And that shows the reality of where we are at this moment of time, where people don't feel like they have enough power to say, this is wrong, you need to stop it. I've also had other experiences where I've walked to work and I've been followed by a man on a bike for the whole road. I don't think he understood, or he didn't recognize that, the terror and the fear that goes through your body as you're walking, because it's just you two down the street. And as brave as I think I am, I recognize how vulnerable I am in that moment of time. Do I say something? Because I want to be able to say something. I don't want to be powerless, but I also recognize that he's, double my size. He can do whatever he wants at that moment. I also, from an Islamophobia aspect, I also understand that, people see me as a Muslim woman, and for some reason, they think that I don't have, I'm not brave enough to recognize my rights. So you see it with a lot of women who wear hijab or who wear niqab, and you see, they have debates on TV, and they think that we need somebody to come and rescue us because we don't have the power to rescue ourselves. I don't need anybody to rescue me. I have my rights, I know my rights. But unfortunately, the law doesn't recognize those rights at this moment in time. Everyone in this room has some sort of platform. Everybody, not just people in public figures, the guests at the back, our speakers, people in, just regular people in Walthamstow. My community organizers always told me, if you're not around the table, you're on the menu. So if we don't create our own table to put our own agenda down, to, show people in power that they need to care about us, this is our story, these are our experiences, this is what we need them to do, we're not going to get anywhere. So I just leave you with the last message that we need to change. We must change. We cannot carry on like this. Our kids, or your kids, I don't have kids, but our daughters cannot grow up like this because we've had enough. The fear that we live in for just to do, the most basic activity, just traveling to work or traveling to university is terrifying. Thank you.